Hi, and welcome to the presentation on AstraZeneca, mapping out obesity. Let's start with the relevant business areas of AstraZeneca with regard to obesity. The total revenue was 26.1 billion in 2014, and the most interesting part is the cardio and metabolic one with nearly 40% of revenues. Next, let's just give you an idea of what we are going to discuss in the next 15 minutes. First, we will analyze the challenges obesity creates for AstraZeneca. Second, we will look at possible interventions based on the McKinsey report. And third, we will break down the different technologies. Sun will now introduce you to the challenges AstraZeneca is facing.
When we say challenge, we mean opportunity. First, here's the map show the obesity rate by country around the world in 2014. Areas with the high obesity rates include America, Northern Africa, some countries in Europe, Middle East, and Australia. For AstraZeneca, we focus on the complexity created by obesity rather than obesity itself. These complexity include diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancer, and respiratory disease. Diabetes. This map shows the percentage change in number of diabetes cases around the world over 30 years, from 2000 to 2030. Areas with the highest percentage include Africa and Middle East. However, when we look at the number of cases by country in 2030, the countries with the highest cases are India, China, United States, and Brazil. Now we go to exploring the obesity patent space. We found 2,000 top patents related with obesity using quits. There are three period of times: 1965 to 1994, 1995 to 2005, and 2005 to 2013. The first periods only have 130 applied patents, and the majority of them relates with hormone receptor. There is a large increase in number of patents applied in the second periods, with 724 patents, and the three main points to focus here are the appearance of gastric band and equipments, protein encoding methods, and closely relation between food and chemical compound. The third period, with 1,023 applied patents, and the main point to focus here are gastric band patents have expanded and moved closer to equipments, and the shrinking of protein encoding groups, and an emerging of traditional Chinese medicines in the middle. And the main cluster are food, extract, tea and powder, chemical compound for weight loss, gastric band, herbal and Chinese medicines, and equipment and tools.
All right. We will be exploring the pharmaceutical interventions of obesity and specifically the traditional Chinese medicine, an area that has been expanding in the patent space, as Sun mentioned earlier. But before we jump right into it, let's just give you an idea of why traditional Chinese medicine is relevant. So, Chinese pharmaceutical sales has increased by fivefold in the span of 8 years, according to a report by Deloitte, as you can see in this graph. Also, its market has segmented as shown with traditional Chinese medicine accounting for 8%, but given that most traditional Chinese medicine is over the counter, this territory will constitute to 46% of the Chinese pharmaceutical market, making it a worthwhile space to watch. Furthermore, a report by KPMG stated that over-the-counter drugs in China have doubled in sales from 2011 to 2014, signaling projected growth in that sector. Furthermore, the use of traditional Chinese medicine in China clearly has a large range of uses, but an interesting cluster was this isolated cluster, where we discovered the almost undiscovered Thunder God vine. So let's get into more detail. Despite the unusual name, the Thunder God vine contains the chemical compound cholesterol. This chemical was studied by the Harvard Medical School, who then published it in a scientific journal just 2 weeks ago. It showed an 80% reduction in food intake in obese mice, which is 45% more than if they lost the weight during bariatric surgery. An interesting part is also the sentiment towards the use of traditional Chinese medicine, which is a growing trend by big pharma, and we can see that it has received a positive sentiment with very little neutral and only a small part of negative sentiment. However, this is not the first implementation of traditional Chinese medicine by Western companies. AstraZeneca's peers Novartis partnered up with the Shanghai Medical Institute, called SIM, in 2001 in order to drive the research and introduce traditional Chinese medicine into their products. This has continued, and even last year Bayer bought Dihon, a Chinese pharmaceutical company, to implement specifically over-the-counter traditional Chinese medicine and hence try and become the biggest non-prescription drug seller. Specifically, a small but important pharma company called Hure have already created FDA-approved cardiovascular drugs with traditional Chinese medicines. So in essence, AstraZeneca's peer space is definitely transforming and expanding with regards to traditional Chinese medicine and obesity. And even though you have the second largest market share by a Western company, this is something you should be definitely aware of. Further on to this point, we will also look at the prescriptive drug market. Only a handful of drugs treating obesity have been approved between 2012 and 2013. This is a sample of them. So let's look at some of them in more detail. First, phentermine and topiramate is a prescriptive combination drug. It decreases weight-related comorbidities, which are additional disorders that occur along with obesity, such as high glycemia, which is glucose in the blood pressure, and cholesterol. Second, lorcaserin is used for long-term obesity treatment and uses an antidepressant ingredient. Third, bupropion and naltrexone is a prescriptive combination drug that increases energy output and decreases appetite. It has been approved for marketing in the US in September 2014. More generally, the technologies behind obesity include the inhibition of neurological signals associated with appetite and epilepsy. As we have seen from the table before, AstraZeneca is not part of that list. Why is that the case? Well, AstraZeneca don't focus on neurological drugs relevant for obesity treatment. Also, they currently stopped clinical trials on the anti-epileptic drug called remacemid. I'll now hand over to Sun, who will be talking more about obesity devices.
Thank you, Max. Another area of intervention in obesity is bariatric surgery and other devices. Obtained from Ericsson's recent detailed report by MedMarket, the change in obesity device market was plotted, and it showed a stark change from 2011 and 2017. The standard lap bands, for example, shown here is restricted device, has been predicted to fall, while appetite suppression device and malabsorption device grew. An entire new segment was introduced, which was the gastric emptying device. Obviously, this on its own won't be valuable, but if you compare it with the drug market, which AstraZeneca has a large presence in, despite its growing exponential till 2019, the device market is following suit. Looking at an innovative malabsorption device called PDD, the PDD mechanism can simplify into one word: rerouting. This essentially releases the necessary hormone to reduce fat absorption, hence reducing the likelihood of weight gains. This is implants endoscopically. However, clinical trials are still being carried out and FDA approvals is pending. But when we look at the phase 1 results, the device shows more than 10% weight loss, which is greater in efficiencies than on the drug Max mentioned before. It is a possible threat to AstraZeneca in terms of being the better choice for the consumer. The price is not known, but the creator have stated it is lower than a normal bariatric surgery. The second device is a type of gastric emptying device, which will emerge in the future as mentioned earlier. The endoluminal bypass. A tube is inserted through the stomach, which will act as a detour to carry the ingested food straight to the small intestines. Since it bypasses the stomach, the food isn't broken down, so the absorption of fat is minimal. Similar to PDD, this device is in clinical trial and is awaiting for FDA approval. Unfortunately, the extent to which weight is lost is not available to the public, and the price is not yet to be determined by the founders. However, customer sentiment is mostly neutral, with only 27 negative and 17% positive sentiment. Looking at the obesity space, the surgery and device market is estimated to grow at a compound rate at 8.2% from 2014 to 2018, while the relevant anti-obesity drug market growing at a rate of 39%. Therefore, it's not a definite threat, but the revolution in the space should be observed, especially since one of AstraZeneca competitor in the drug market, Novartis, supplied drug artifacts, a bariatric surgery facilitates post-op to help patients to meet their nutrition needs, meaning that there are complementary benefit for Novartis of this market growing and being present.
Thank you, Sun. So let's come to the concluding remarks. The most vital pieces of information you can take away from this briefing are: first, the complexity created by obesity and an increase in competitiveness due to the hard intervention or the bariatric surgery devices. Second, the traditional Chinese medicine is a key part of the pharmaceutical space in Asia for AstraZeneca in terms of innovation, but also in terms of potential financial return. Third, leading obesity drugs employ neurological and epileptic ingredients, which carry a large potential. And fourth, bariatric surgery and other devices are a growing market with potential benefits, despite AstraZeneca being only present in the drugs market. But with most being in the clinical trial stage and needing FDA approval, no major disruption is expected to happen in the coming 5 to 10 years. However, the space is continuously evolving. Thank you very much for your attention.